Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing okay. I smacked a barbell on my nose yesterday, so it's all big and red. Oh, man, that hurt.
I've done that before. I thought I broke my nose when I did it. It was right on the bridge.
Yeah,
from a push press. How did you do it?
That's what I was doing. Yeah, at least I keep the bar close to my body.
Yeah.
Whoa,
I was thinking when I hit mine, it was on the way down, right? And I was thinking, God, it's so glad I didn't hit it on the way up.
I did. I was going. I only had I think 70 kilos, but I went up with as much force as I could, and boom, my eyes just instantly water. You know how it is. Oof. Blood was coming out. I was like, oh man, this sucks. But you kept lifting.
On the way up, you hit it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No.
But otherwise, doing great, man. Doing great. It ended up being a great workout, of course, and always excited to be here with you and see what topics we're going to have today.
Yeah, do you know what? I heard a really interesting stat this week about the detrimental effect of a stressful relationship, in particular on health. And the stat went something to the effect that when somebody is in a relationship where there is conflict and arguments and so on, then the effect of that on their body, the stress, the anger, the fight or flight, everything else that goes with that, it can knock 7 to 8 years off their life. Whew. 7 to 8 years. And what was really interesting is they then drew parallels to how so many people work out, right? And how much effort and time they would put into their health in order to prolong their life. And the idea was, well, look, if you just took a fraction of that time and invested it into your relationship and having fun in your relationship, by stacking the positive experiences, then in terms of your health, you'd get way more benefit in your health. It was incredible how they just continued to go into the science and the stats around all this. It blew my mind. And it really got me thinking for the listeners, and even for myself, okay, the amount of time I invest in the gym, the amount of hours per day, the amount of hours per week, compare that to how much I'm investing in my relationship. How does it compare? You know, you always say, show me your calendar and I'll show you my priorities. I'll show you your priorities. And it's a really interesting consideration.
Yeah, it's not only that, right? Because I think what happens for us, Tim, 7 to 10 years, I think is what you said.
7 to 8 years.
7 to 8, right? That's whatever. That's close enough.
Huge.
It's a long time, but we always think of that in the distant future, like, oh, in our 70s. But I think what's missed there in that statistic is the quality of those years, the quality of our life. And what I was thinking when you first said that is obviously like, wow, it's a lot of time, but could be later. Then I thought, wait a minute, what would I pay to have 7 more years with my kids, right? My children. Or said another way, if I knew my life was going to be cut short 7 years, what would I pay to have additional 7 years put on it so I can enjoy it with the people I love? And it's obviously priceless, right? I would put anything on that. And I think we as men miss that because a lot of times what gets us in trouble as men is we think things are so far in the future, we'll deal with it when it comes. And this happens for a lot of guys in their marriage, right? Things aren't good, but I'll wait until they get better and deal with them when they come. And the problem is, like you said, show me your calendar, I'll show you your priorities. Unfortunately, a lot of guys wait till it's too late, right? By the time their wife starts talking about divorce, right? She's been thinking about it for 2 or 3 years. She's already got an exit plan. She's emotionally left the marriage. And then they're like, okay, now I'll take action. You're like, no, dude, you needed to take action 3 years ago, right? Before this got there. And that's where it happens. It's just like your health. My background and yours, early on in my 20s, I opened up a small private training studio in Santa Barbara, California. And my clients were older. And it was kind of that old adage, right? Most people spend their 30s and 40s and 50s even trying to make money, then they spend their 60s and 70s spending that money trying to get health back
Mm-hmm.
rather than focusing on their health in the first place. Because you can have money and be healthy. You can also
Mm-hmm.
have a healthy relationship. But you make a great point is, and guys listening to this, I'm going to ask you right now, how much time are you spending in the gym or being conscious about your health, going for a jog or whatever per week? Think about that number right now. Just pause this, come up with that number. Is that, an hour? Is that 7 hours? Is that for some of you guys, it's going to be 20 hours if you're doing a training for an Ironman or whatever it may be. Now, how much conscious time are you spending on your marriage, studying your marriage, getting better at your marriage or your relationships? What's that number?
Mm-hmm.
My guess, Tim, for most guys, and this was me way back in the day too, is that number pales in comparison. If it's not zero hours on the calendar, it's very slim compared to the amount of time guys are investing in their health or investing in studying business, right? And when I say studying business, that includes YouTube, TikTok, business things you're watching, Grant Cardone or somebody on there, or whoever else it may be, Elon Musk, seeing what he's doing with Twitter. Instead of watching what Elon Musk is doing with Twitter, what's going on in your marriage? Where are you making that investment in time and capital in that relationship?
Yeah. I mean, look, health even extends beyond the gym, right? Meal prep, thinking about what you're eating, it'll occupy enough for a lot of the guys in the movement. It's, they work out at least 5 days a week, most of them, on average for an hour, right? Plus, they plan their meals and they're conscious with what they eat. So just put another 5 hours on top of that throughout the week, right? That's 10 hours over the week. I mean, luckily for those guys, they're also living from the inside out, right? Where they've done the flip. So the 5 territories are organized with self at the bottom, health, relationships, wealth, and business. So, they're going to be spending a similar amount of time in their relationship as well. And they can take that fullness that they're getting and all the gains from the health to then be the lighthouse for the wife. But, prior to joining the movement, that wasn't the way. And just like it wasn't the way for you, wasn't the way for me. And that number in the relationship for most people, like you said, it will be 0. And I think it's important to define what it would look like, right? We're not just talking about having a conversation with your wife. We're talking about quality time, like actually investing into the relationship in a meaningful way, right? Where you are building the connection between you guys, whether it's a date night, whether it's a date day, whether it's checking in with each other, whether it's whatever it is to nurture the quality connection. Because if that's not there, then of course the relationship is going to fall by the wayside. And of course, you're going to come home and you're going to work hard at the gym to try and alleviate the feelings of stress or to try and get the benefits of a good mood and so on. But they're going to just be pale. They're going to pale in significance in compared to the stress that you're going to experience as soon as you walk in the door because you've not been investing in your relationship. That's when you're going to be more likely to reach for the wine and the beer and the junk food. And, that's when you start to battle. It's willpower, right? You're trying your best to stick to your diet to get the gains in the gym. But the issue is actually the fact that you're not actually investing in your relationship.
Well, it's so true. I mean, science has proven you have a finite amount of willpower, right? And as business owners, we make decisions all the time. When you add in the stress of business plus the stress of relationships, whether it be with your kids or, for a lot of the guys that are listening to this with their spouse, your willpower is going to go down the tubes. It's really, really difficult at that time. And this is where you can get triggered by your wife. And look, this is why over time, the relationship erodes. This is why over time, when you and your wife are arguing or fighting, that's all you think about in your business. And your business becomes stagnant because your marriage is also stagnant. And you keep trying to kickstart your fitness or kickstart something else. And it only goes so far. And you can't figure out why. It's because for a lot of people, they say to themselves, what's the most important thing? Well, my relationships, right? Obviously, I would do anything for my family. I would do anything, I would do anything but that. But that is the thing that they need the most, is you investing the time in actually building the relationship at, the right time. And for some reason, us guys, like, we get pigeonholed, right? We always say, I'd go to war. I'd pick a bullet for my family, or all of these macho things that we say as men. Yeah. Again, show me your calendar. Pull your calendar up right now, guys. And I dare you to post your calendar into the private Facebook group, and show me your calendar and show me where prioritizing you studying your relationships, like how to get better at them, because we're not taught this, right? How do you study it? And then show me also where do you have committed time for your family in there. Now, I know a couple of guys are smiling ear to ear because they're like, I got this, right? And I'd love to see yours, guys, because you'll lead the way. You'll be the lighthouse for the other men. But for most men out there, when they pull up their Outlook calendar, the Google calendar, whatever it is that they keep their appointments on, their business appointments will be on there, maybe doctor's appointments, but appointments that they're investing in educating themselves on to better their relationships, to better their marriage, to better that with their families, it's not going to be on there. And that's where our energy gets depleted, because we're basically being hypocrites. I'm just going to be straight with you guys. You're being hypocrites, telling me that your relationships are the most important thing to you, that your family is the most important thing to you, if you're still on the fence about doing something about it.
Yeah.
You're lying to yourself. And so either do or don't, but don't lie to yourself, because that's the worst thing you can do, because you'll be on the fence and it's going to drain your energy even more.
Yeah. The other thing that I heard as well, that this was kind of shocking to me. There was a study that I read which sampled couples over decades. And one of the other patterns that they found that was a determinant of whether the relationship was going to be healthy or not was the first 3 minutes of conflict.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. And if I'm putting the pieces of this puzzle together, right, and we're talking about priorities, you spend all this time in the gym, well, look at your relationship. How much do you spend there? That's obviously going to build resentment, right? That's obviously going to build, we talk a lot about shifting the scales, and that's what the activation method does, right? It shifts away all these negative experiences that have stacked up on top of one another over time, and using the hidden motives technique and the clean slate method, along with the Live as a King system, that those scales start to first rebalance with the clean slate method. So it comes back to neutral. And the hidden motives technique gets some tipping in your favor alongside you being the lighthouse. That's Live as a King system. But without that, you're walking in through the door in an evening, thinking you've crushed it as a guy, as a man, right? You've slayed the dragon all day, right? You've gone to the lengths for your family to provide for them. They're going to be so proud of you. You're going to be so excited when you walk in through the door and you're able to share with them, hey, we're going to take that trip to Disney World, or whatever it is that they've been wanting to do, and you've been working your ass off to make it happen. You're killing it in the gym. You're doing your best to be in good shape. But then you're walking through the door, and because there's no investment in the energy, you met with a bit of contempt, let's say. A little bit of resentment is built up. And those first 3 minutes of that interaction, if there is sarcasm and passive aggression and contempt and all the other things that go hand in hand with that, as that continues to happen time after time, it can basically begin to signal the end of a relationship, unless they do something about it. Because in that scenario, it just continues to stack and stack and stack. Whereas the flip side is when you're living from the inside out, right? And you prioritize your relationship and you're using the Triad connection, which includes those 3 tools I mentioned a moment ago, you're able to walk into the door, and those 3 minutes are experienced very differently, because who knows, it might be a shit test, right? But prior to, I didn't used to know what one of those was. There was a time when I would react to that. I'd fall into deer mode, and that would then make the first 3 minutes of that interaction hostile. It would escalate. I'd be defending myself, and I'd walk away. I wouldn't walk away with anything. I'd walk away because I'd feel so misunderstood. I'd feel so frustrated. And then I wouldn't want to invest any more time in the relationship, because anytime I invested into it, it was really just more of the same. So I had to find a way to obviously break the cycle. I didn't have what we do back then. For the guys that are listening, if this resonates, at least there is this. But like we always say, if it resonates, guys, look, whether you join the activation method or not, I don't really care, quite honestly. For me and for Doug too, we just want you to do something. Get off the fence. If the answer to the calendar is the fact that there isn't really anything in there for your relationship, be real with yourself. Wake up to that fact and get off the fence. And if you can't do it for yourself, do it for your kids. They cannot be in a household where they're constantly seeing this conflict and these arguments and this disconnect. It's not fair. They're just innocent bystanders in this. Do it for yourself as well, because if this resonates, you deserve to experience an easier and more flowing relationship. One where there's less arguments and more sex, less frustration and more laughter. And you've got to get off the fence and shift that.
Yeah, I agree. Look, yeah, just do something, guys. I mean, there's other men's groups out there that, they'll have 100 guys in a group, and maybe that's your thing. Maybe, having a small group of men with an experienced coach isn't your thing. Maybe that's not what you're looking for, but do something. Just do something to move yourself forward. I mean, like Tim started this off with, being in a relationship that has a lot of stress, it's going to take off 7 to 8 years of your life. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous to think you don't want it. And make those years quality years, not just years waiting for things to get better, hoping that things can get better, right? Follow a pathway to success that you've seen other people that you admire, look up to, or respect that have been on that path, and then go for it. Go for it with gusto. It could be whatever it is, right? I would love to hear from you guys and figure out what it is you've done. But again, calls to action. Look at your calendar right now. Just be real with yourself, man. Be real with yourself and be honest. Look at your calendar right now. Where is your investment in education and growth in the area of relationship? Where? If it's not there, you don't have a couple hours a week that you're dedicated to relationship and study, right? And your relationship's not working the way that you want it to. Those two things go together. Then something needs to change. It's obvious, right? Just like if you came up to me and were hacking out your lungs, right? And say, "Oh, Doug, I can't breathe. It's so hard." And then you start smoking cigarettes in front of me. I'm going to go, "Hey, man, I got an idea. Why don't you put the cigarettes away? And I bet that's going to help your lungs." Right? It's a similar thing. Like you're adding quality years to your life, which you deserve. It's also adding quality years to your wife's life and adding quality years to your kids' lives. And I think that's the unspoken thing here. And as Tim said, if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your wife, do it for your kids. You're the leader of the house. You're the man. This is your chance. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Be the leader, be the lighthouse, and you step forward and let everybody else follow. Tim, I love this topic. Thanks for bringing it to the table, my friend.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a shocking stat. I had to share it with the guys.
Yeah, that's amazing. Gentlemen, as always, in the Moment Insight, take massive action. And we'll see you next time on the Powerful Man Show.